Dream Chasers, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Adam Carswell, also known as General Moses. And today I'm joined by a leader of the new school. I know I've seen your name in the tool room circles for a while, so I don't even know if a leader of the new school is appropriate because you've definitely been putting the work in for a while, et cetera, et cetera. But it's my honor and privilege to be joined today by the one and only Kid Cut. I was gonna call you by your real name because I know it now, but we'll stick with Kid. Kid
Yeah.
Cut, how you doing today, man? What are you looking forward to diving into on the interview?
I am very well. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to just talking a little bit about the same sort of things that you've been asking other people about. I think it's nice to talk to people who are kind of in that music producer um, community and just sort of hear the stories that some of the other people have got. And there's some really, fascinating stuff like the some of the previous shows you've talked to people about their experiences with Toolroom, for example, on the other side of the world, and how they were, Sam talking about being a translator for Mark on his tour and stuff like that. Like amazing,
Right.
really insightful stuff. And I think um, if you can sort of tune in and learn a bit from those, and this is maybe a chance to sort of share what I've done and how it's worked for me so far.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the one thing that kind of connects us all, the tool room family, as I know everyone at the label would be happy to refer to it as well.
Yeah.
Like I kind of got the idea from listening to the radio show episode 700. They did a really cool thing where they brought on different artists from the label. Hey, tell us about, just basically tell us your tool room story. And
Yeah.
I found that to be very cool. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna make my own little version of it now. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of direction we're gonna go here. There's a lot. I do want to talk at some point about your time in Kenya, because
Yeah.
that's just like, we were gonna have Kid Cut on the show back in like the fall, but he was in Kenya and probably sounds
I
like he's
was on the other side of the world.
yeah. So I do want to hear about that because that's just very unique. But I mean, to kick things off, how did you first discover the label? Everyone's toolroom story seems a little bit different. So what's yours?
Yeah, yeah, really does. So I got into DJing when I went to uni in about 2003. And before then, growing up, I'd grown up in a couple of different places in the UK, in Germany, in America, and was sort of starting to, as a teenager, learn about music, discover what I liked. I sort of fell in love with dance music through that sort of sample-based dance music that people like Fatboy Slim were making. I really liked that style.
Yeah.
Over time, I started to sort of listen to more house music in particular. So I think I started to listen to that toolroom sort of style music in about 2009, 2010, 2011, something like that. And I thought I'd better know exactly what my sort of timestamps were, and
Right.
that for people sort of be able to just pick off a tune.
Well, so if you
So
say
for me,
oh
I
oh
think
nine oh nine, that was like Man with the Red Face era, right?
yeah, and I think a lot of those tunes you're probably sort of swirling around in those tunes. Everyone's taste in music develops over time, and maybe I'd sort of cherry pick a couple of tunes that I didn't necessarily know were from that label at that time, and then you start seeing the logo again and again, and it's sort of at the time I didn't really know much about what a label was or anything like that. I just knew I
Right.
liked this music, and then it sort of started to fall into place. A lot of this type of music seemed to be coming from the same source, and then learning a bit more about it, you discover, oh, so it's this record label. And so yeah, started enjoying a particular kind of music around 2010, 2011, and then over time realized that that was Toolroom sound.
There has to be. I just want to know from '09 to
Yeah.
2012. Doesn't have to be your favorite, but like what is the first record that comes to mind for you during that phase?
So the one that comes to mind for me is Consindo, which is one of Mark's tracks. I think it was actually a collab with a guy called Wolfgang Gartner.
Yeah.
So
Who's a big name?
Consindo for me was a like that was the sound of the label.
I gotta look
Um,
it up now. Consindo. There it is. Yeah,
yeah,
Wolfgang Gartner. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go listen to it when we're done here.
yeah,
Wow.
check it out. I mean, that is for me. and I guess everyone listening maybe will have kind of a couple of reference tracks, which maybe when they think of a label, they will think of a certain track, and certainly that is one of that era for me for this particular label. And then maybe more recently tracks like We Get High from the Music, which was Mark again with a vocalist called Mr. V.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge tune as well.
That is.
So yeah, that's kind of like
That was man.
timestamps my sort of start of getting into it in detail, I think.
Yeah, I now that I've just I've started so I didn't hardly even realize that the label existed before 2010 until I started doing these interviews. I feel like I should have known that, and obviously everyone's been celebrating the 20th year, but I haven't looked past 2010 until like the past 6 months. And I'm pretty sure I can hear Consendo playing in my head right now because of like the recent research. But I first got sucked in during that We Get High from the Music phase. I remember, listening to the show. So yeah, it's pretty, I mean, you just gotta tip your hat to Mark, right? Like the body of work that he's put in
Yeah,
is absolutely insane. Because I
yeah,
think everybody that I've talked to on the show, not all, there's a few coming to mind, but most people we've had on the show so far on this topic have referred to some track by Mark. And I know that was my story too. I think Natalie Knox talked about a song by Proc and Fitch called Tears, which is a good one. And that one wasn't Mark, but most people talk about one of his bajillion bangers.
hits. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating. How did you first discover the Academy? Because I feel like if you've been close to or at least aware of the label for that long, you were probably one of the first to go through the Academy, unless I
Yeah,
could be. So tell me about your Academy
yeah,
experience.
yeah. So I in about 2013, I started making my own music. So done 10 years as a DJ, doing all sorts of stuff, playing different styles, different genres, different venues, all that kind of stuff. 2013 started making my own stuff, and through that journey of getting into music production, I started to sort of be aware of the wider electronic music community, certainly in the UK. And there's an event called the Brighton Music Conference. Brighton is on the south coast.
That's
Very
who was it? Fat Boy Slim's famous show.
Fatboy Slim, yeah,
Yeah.
that's his kind
Which
of his
I'll never
home. That's
forget.
his home turf.
You know how we get the whole in-flight report thing is new to me, right? Especially
Yeah,
getting it through Toolroom. And I'll never
yeah,
forget checking my track on you were on the most recent compilation too with me. You're on the last two,
yeah. That's
right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting off track here, but Fat Boy Slim downloaded my first track, and I just
Nice.
remember, it's one of those things where
Oh
you're like,
yeah.
did that just
Amazing.
happen? You know? So anyways, at Brighton Music
uh,
Festival.
and the label were doing this sort of academy, Toolroom Academy live, Toolroom live type event. So they'd hold it in a pub or a bar or something, and it was an opportunity for people to pretty much, book a place and walk in off the street and sit down in a live A&R session and then hear people from the music talk. It was about half a day, and it was an opportunity to bring the label and the producers together. And you hear that a lot when the label talk about the Academy. It's that's the idea behind it. To marry those two elements up, and to do it in that kind of environment where the city is alive with people running around to different talks. It's a bit like ADE,
Sure.
but in the UK. But that's where I sort of first got hold of this sort of idea of the Academy, and then I was on the third production certificate that they did in
Oh yeah.
2018. So
It's
that's when I did my first course.
It was 2018.
That's right, yeah. It was the third one that they'd run.
Wow. Yeah. I was 30, and it's crazy. We've had at least one or two on the show now that were in like number 40 something. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I think it's really popular because it does what it says on the tin. It provides the sort of the foundation knowledge for you to then go on and make whatever kind of music you want, but with a sort of a really good grounding in the sort of fundamentals of tech house and techno and that kind of thing.
And yeah, and I mean, I think we all kind of need this. I feel like how do I say it? I needed it, and I've talked to other people who I know they needed it too. But clarity on what your sound is.
Mm.
Um, I can see how me and several others we're getting ready to continue to pursue this career in a way where it's like, whatever sounds good, I'm going to go for it. And
Yeah.
one of the first things in the academy is like, hey, what is your sound? Okay, we're gonna help you stick to that because you need to really grow a career. That's what you got to build it around. So for you, I remember your track on the one in the fall, Leaders of the New School 2023, which was This Is Acid.
This is acid. Yeah.
And so is the acid, is that your sound, or what's the Kid Cut sound?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure I found it yet. I think I sort of jump around and do when I sort of step back and I look at the stuff I've made over time, I do see it changing a little bit. It's quite fun. I like to have fun with it. It's not too deep. It's music to sort of jump around and be happy to, but with that sort of tech house sophistication,
Sure.
if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
So I like samples. I like trying to be clever and flip samples in a particular way. So yeah, sort of sample based, sort of fun music with a bit of sophistication thrown in there for good measure.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, what are you working on right now, by the way? What's your main focus at the moment?
So having got back from Kenya in October last year, I am.
Which we got to ask, how did you
jump into that? So that I was out there with my work. I was there for 2 years. I was living in a place called Nanyuki. Big up Nanyuki. That is about 4 hours north of Nairobi. So you've got the capital just to the south of us, and then we were in a place called Nanyuki. And that's just Mount Kenya. I was there for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a scene there. It's quite a busy town. It's a transit town, so you always had different people passing through. And I had a really good relationship with one of the venues in that town, and I played there a couple of times over the time that I was in Kenya.
And so so they had a little bit of a tech house scene going on there.
Yeah, the scene is kind of just having a good time, and if tech house helps with that, then that's fine. I would play a sort of tech house type set if I was playing out in that particular town, but you could go out and expect to hear a bit of everything.
Nice, but you said you're out
about that's it. Yeah,
2 hours north of
2 hours north of Nairobi. So yeah, it's yeah. So Mount Kenya is that sort of bit with the big sort of ring road around it. So yeah, just a bit north of there.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, beautiful country, lovely people, amazing place to live for a couple of years.
You were there for 2 years. Was it 2 uninterrupted years, or?
It was, yeah. I came back a couple of times to the UK for various bits and pieces, and in fact, that is where you and I first met, because I came back July 21, maybe. Do you remember Toolroom London?
When they did London Calling. Yeah.
That's it.
You were there?
Yeah, we met in the garden.
What?
Yeah.
Because we didn't get a picture then. I guess
I didn't get a picture. We were sort of busy dancing away and having a good time.
Sure you're right. I'm sure we met. That's so cool. That I'm like, my mind is blown right now because I know exactly.
But yeah, so we've known each other for a while, kind of.
We met at London Calling.
Those events are always great because it's people who are interested in the same sort of thing. It's you are as likely to talk about how you've tuned your most recent hi-hat as you are finding out where someone's from or something, because it's the crowd is always really good there, and the labels parties in general.
Yeah, that was such a good party. Obviously we probably both highly endorse it. You know, London Calling. I don't know when or where it's
Yeah.
going to be this coming year, but check it out, guys. That's so cool you were there and that we met. Because I mean that was July 2022. At that time, I've got
Yeah, that's it. July 22.
yeah,
That was probably that.
and I was in the middle of the course at the time, and I remember, I don't know how it was when you were in it, but there was probably like 20 to 25 other students in the course when I was going through it, like simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I remember Pete and Ben and whoever else. I think it was mainly Pete and Ben who were teaching us, but London Calling was getting closer, and they were ask our cohort, hey, is anyone coming? Who's coming? Is anyone going to it? And I'm like, I was in Calgary,
Yeah.
Alberta at the time too, which was like an 8-hour flight. I'm like, I'm going, like I'll be
Yeah.
there. So anyone else going? No, all right, I'll see you there. So, uh, and yeah, that was like a very serendipitous moment, just because I finally got to put so many names to faces of people that I've been fans of for years, and to be able
Mhm.
to hang like literally hang out with Mark for a few minutes, pick his brain. I'm sure you and I spoke. Knowing myself, I'm like
Mhm.
I'm a madman when it comes to networking. So I
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
met like 80 people that weekend.
Yeah.
But there's one story from that party that I've never been able to share on any of these interviews. And you're helping me remember it now. And I look forward to the next time I can go to another tour and party now because of this. But at the time I was just a student. I wasn't technically an artist yet. Like I didn't have any
Yeah.
records or
Yeah.
anything out yet. So I'm going around the event still with like the I didn't have the artist wristband on,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there was a moment near the end of the party where I was with his name was Retina. He released a few tracks with Mark at the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and going around with him and his friends, and then we go kind of like backstage or whatever, and then security lets everyone in except for me because I didn't have the artist thing on, and I'm like,
Not
no,
you.
and I'm like, no, like I'm like I'm a student of the kid, like no, no artist, and then Retina turns back to me. Uh, and actually, shout out to he was a nice guy. He actually came back like down into to the regular people area just to hang out with me. But I'll, I'll never forget he said something like along the lines of like, "Screw it, dude! Like just make bangers, just go make bangers. Basically, go make bangers, and this will never happen again." I'll never forget he said that, and that's what I
Yeah.
did. That's what I did.
That's what's happening. Well, and that's that's what those parties are all about. And I can remember a similar thing happening in about 2016. The label used to put on these parties at Egg, so a nightclub in London, really
Yep,
well
yep.
known.
Familiar with Egg.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think it was maybe like the October after I met a lot of people from the label in the April or something like that. I'd been around, done my networking, hi. That was it. Went off, life carried on, and I went to this event. I took my friend. I was like, look, learning about this label. Come with me, and we'll go to London and go to the party. And I think I was sort of in. There's all these sort of like staircases in the site inside the club to get to the different floors. And I bumped into Stuart Knight, Mark's brother,
Yep.
on the stairwell, and I was like a bit like you know starstruck because I knew who he was, and I kind of you know stuck out a hand. I was like, "Hi, I'm Nick. How you doing? We met months ago, and we talked about the label and all this kind of stuff." Very excited. And he kind of turned to me and went, "Yeah, I know who you are." It was just so nice that he'd kind of, he remembered the chat that we'd had, and it's a label that's got a genuine interest in people. It's got a genuine interest in music, and sort of, the thread that runs between those two, and that's what a reason why I'm a big fan of them.
That's so cool. Yeah, I got to meet Stuart as well, and it's to me it's so fascinating also how he's very good at being like low key, I think is the
Mhm.
phrase, right? Like you wouldn't know this whole time that like Mark's brother was like so helpful with everything involved too. I thought that was really cool about him. But that's a good story you got right there. Yeah, I know who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you get those moments in this kind of this life of going out and having a good time that just stick with you, and that's certainly one that stuck in my memory.
Love it. Shout out to Stuart Knight. Uh,
Yeah.
so what just go through a few more notes here. What are you looking forward to in 2024? We're about a quarter of the way.
Um,
Go
well, I
ahead.
think we've already had a bit of a big chunk of excitement with Leaders of the New School, and I'm always sort of interested to get people's take on, 2nd of Feb it came out. We've all pushed it really hard, and I think that it's done really well.
I noticed you really pushed it this time around
Yeah,
more than
yeah.
the last one. Yeah, I appreciate that. You gave me a shout out and everything. But yeah,
Oh, well, it's a great track. Flashback's awesome. I think it's one of, if not the best tracks on the albums. I enjoy it, and when you've got a good track, you've got to shout about it,
thank you.
regardless of who it belongs to. I think. Um, I'm enjoying I'm sort of still enjoying the moment of
Hmm.
that compilation coming out, and I think it's got it's got a long way to go yet, and I hope that everyone on it, I presume everyone's kind of frantically working on the follow up. For example, I've just finished the follow up track to White Noise, which was the track that I had on that compilation,
Yeah, yeah.
all mastered and ready to go, and I'm going to start looking for the right home for it now, and I've got maybe another 5 or 6 tracks that are nearly finished.
Nice.
And so the sort of first half of 2024 for me, I'm excited about finishing a little bit more music, and just sort of reacquainting myself with that scene after being away for a couple of years, and sort of
Sure.
trying to figure out that landscape and where I'm going to fit in it as I move forward.
Yeah, one that I'm that's interesting. I'm thinking about tracks in the pipeline for me too. You just made me think of
Mm.
one because he was on, you know what? I don't know if you've connected with him. I interviewed him. He was on Leaders of the New School in the fall. He was on the most recent one, Costa UK.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're working on one right now. And just both feeling very good about it. Feeling very,
Yeah.
very good about it. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We've sent it a few places already,
Well,
kind of
yeah, and
but
that can be really difficult, because if you make something that you kind of almost think too far ahead, like this is a definite for this label or that label,
right.
and if it's a no, you kind of have to have a moment and go, okay,
What
um, it's a new opportunity to send it somewhere else, and that's not easy. It's a lot easier said than done. But
learn,
yeah, I think we
learn my
all everyone
learn
needs
my
to get
lesson
ready for
on
those moments.
I learned my lesson on that one from the academy. And I mean, it's still like I should still be very thankful for how it played out. But the track that I made while I was in the course just got signed by House of Hustle. It's coming out. It's coming out next
Awesome.
week. But
Hey,
you always
congrats.
hear thank you, thank you. It was one I made it, around the time that I met you, and
Yeah,
you hear
yeah,
stories about how like stuff doesn't get signed for years. So there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Kid Cut, what is the one dream venue, the one place that you want to play at that you've not gotten a chance to play at yet?
So I had to think quite a lot about this one, and I put myself on the other side of the decks, and kind of tried to think back to an experience when I in the crowd was just
Sure.
like it was wild. Um, and there is a festival that happens on August bank holiday in the UK, which is like like it's kind of like the last hurrah of the summer in the
Okay.
UK. It's a big
Yeah.
party weekend, and I don't know if it's still going, but there's a festival. There's a massive green space called Clapham Common in London, and for that big weekend, there used to be a massive sort of festival arena set up, with main stages, small intimate tents, all sorts of stuff, and amazing DJs playing all over it. And I think playing one of the sort of the daytime small intimate tents would have been awesome, just because
Nice.
the crowd was wild.
What's
And
it?
it
What's the it's a club uncommon?
so Clapham is the area. Clapham Common is like this
Oh,
sort of park in Clapham, and it was. I think that the festival there has been run under different names, but it's the Bank Holiday Festival, the August Bank Holiday festival that's happened there in the past has always been good fun.
I'm trying to find it on the web here. So,
It used to be run by an events group called SW4. So that's like the zip code of that particular area.
SW4.
Yeah, SW4. And then it was called Get Loaded before that. And yeah, I think I went in about, 2005,
Oh, wow.
2006, like that. And it was just like inside the tent. It was crazy. And to play to that crowd, I think would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can just remember that moment, that's to answer that question. I've thought about it for myself as well. And I think a lot of it comes down to what, the most fulfilling venues to play at more than likely are it's got to be a venue that you've been in the crowd before and you remember just
Yeah, I agree.
that moment, right? So
Yeah.
because it's everything coming full circle. Like, you know what, for me, definitely a dream venue to play at now would be Studio 338 on the interior in particular, because that's where I got rejected once. And then now, so that day will come. Anyways,
Yeah.
Kid Cut, you're the man. Thank you for being willing to do this. I could tell you're just very intentional with your time. We finally found a time that worked for both of us. It's great to have you here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
What's the best way for our listeners to follow up and keep up to date with you?
So I use Instagram a lot. I'm under there, on there under at KidCut UK. So that's probably the best place. Either drop me a DM or tag me or something like that, and I'll. Yeah, that's a good way to get hold of me.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Go follow him on Instagram, KidCut UK. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
On Instagram. Yep. Send him a DM, say Dream Chasers. That way he knows you watched the only way you know that is if you watch the whole interview here. So then shoot that over to him. And yeah, Kid Cut. Thank you, man.
No problem.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in, investing your most valuable resource with us here today, your time. Be sure to drop a like, a subscription, a 5-star review, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level and stay dangerous.